Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Tuesday, August the 20th. And welcome to our commentary. Well, the big story, of course, is the Democrats' convention, the first night. And I've got some thoughts about the president's speech and the night overall. But let me just begin by reminding you that I have a post over at the American Thinker this morning talking about inflation and how inflation is the big elephant in the room that the Democrats are going to have to figure out how to explain it. And so far, they're not doing a very good job. I mean, everything else, they're engaging in all kinds of distractions, and they're not doing a good job of explaining how they're going to deal with it. But that is the problem. And even it's not so much the number, because they keep dwelling on, well, the price is down or the number is down. It is down from last month, and you can argue that it is further down. But the problem here is the accumulated inflation. I mean, the fact is that people are spending 20% more for food over 3 or 4 years, and that takes its toll on the budget, on the family budget, as we can see by the number of people who are struggling with it. They're having a very hard time and having to make some very tough choices, particularly families with children. So that's the topic. If you want to check that out over at AmericanThinker.com, it's going to be on the right-hand side. Now, let's talk about the first night of the Democrats. Look, it's fascinating, but by the way, just a quick thought. The idea that you would have all this emphasis on abortion outside, where you have these mobile trucks, offering, I guess, abortion pills I mean, this obsession with abortion is troubling to me because there's something else going on here. There's something going on in the minds of so many of these people that they seem so obsessed with abortion. I mean, abortion is a very serious thing. It's, women who have abortions obviously, have a tough thing to go through. And if you're familiar, there are several ministries and several churches where women cope with the agony of abortion. It's not easy for many women to deal with the consequences of abortion years later. But this maddening, I mean, offering, abortions outside, or I guess medicated abortion, whatever they call it, it just seems weird to me that that's where the Democrat Party, has come to. I mean, I can understand if they were outside and they had these trucks, offering people to check their blood pressure or donate blood or something like that. That's one thing. But all this focus on abortion tells me there's something wrong with a lot of these people, and they need to really start thinking about it a little bit more. Well, let's talk about the first night. I mean, it went okay, I guess. I mean, I didn't watch every minute of it, but they went through a bunch of different speakers, and then they got to President Biden. And of course, the problem is that they got to him too late. I don't think that was the plan, to have the president of the United States speaking at 11:30 Eastern time. I just don't think that was the plan. Some of us are old enough to remember back in 1972 when then candidate George McGovern accepted the nomination like at 3 o'clock in the morning because there were all kinds of delays and all these speakers that had to go before the nomination speech. And he ended up giving the nomination speech really late. I'm going to say 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. That's probably about right. And of course, who's going to be watching TV at that time? And I think they probably had the same problem last night. Who's going to be watching TV that late? I mean, you're really cutting your audience if you're doing if you're introducing, your top, your top act, if I could put it that way, that late at night. So it's a great disservice to President Biden, who's obviously an older man who could not have been that comfortable staying up that late to give a speech. So that was the big problem, the timing or when the speech started. The other thing is President Biden continues to give these speeches where he's screaming. I mean, he's like screaming. I guess, I don't know why. He wants people to think he's animated, or he wants people to think that he's really committed to whatever he's saying, or he wants people to think that he's really angry. I mean, whatever. It's just weird. It comes across weird to see a grown man screaming at your TV. I mean, it's just simply, it's not something that I think makes him look very smart. Then the actual this obsession that they have with Trump. It's all about Trump. And, he engages in repeating these lies about when Trump said there were good people on both sides. They take it completely out of context. They should watch the video. And I think most Americans by now know that they're repeating a lie, but nevertheless, they continue repeating it. The one about the bloodbath, the one about, poisoning the blood of the country. I mean, the one about the bloodbath, Trump was actually talking about the industry, the automobile industry. He was talking about a bloodbath in the auto industry if you allow Chinese companies to manufacture electric cars in Mexico and then bring them in here. That's what he was talking about. The video is clear. But yet, they take the word bloodbath and make that into a big deal. And then, of course, the other one about the bloodstream, again, he was not talking about immigrants. He was talking about some of the criminal elements and people like that who are coming into the country. So, I mean, it's a real shame that the president of the United States has to engage in that kind of rhetoric in order to somehow get applause from the people who were there. What if he had done a different speech? What if he had talked about, how fortunate he is as a man to have had the opportunity that he had? And maybe he could talk about the many, many conventions that he went to. I think the first one he went to was 1972 when he was a candidate for the U.S. Senate. And I think he's been in every other one, except 2020, of course, when they didn't have a convention because of the pandemic. But I mean, look, he could have done that. He could have talked about all the people he's met over the years. I mean, he's obviously met the presidents, whether it's Carter, whether it's Obama, whether it's Clinton. He's met them. He's been at those conventions. He could have talked about that. He could have talked about, how a guy from Delaware became president, all this kind of stuff. He could have made it a much more positive speech. That's my point. But he turned it into just another attack on Trump. And Trump is this, and Trump is this, and Trump is a threat to democracy. And I think what happens is, now, I did watch it because I wanted to talk about it. And, I wanted to at least see it for myself so I could talk about it in this video, or sometimes I do interviews on TV, and I just wanted to know what he said. So I did watch it. But I think a lot of people, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people turned it off because it was too late, or turned it off because of the rhetoric. I mean, it got to a point where all he was saying was that Trump is this and Trump is that. And is that all they have? I guess it is. But he didn't really, I don't know. I just thought what a waste of time it was to give that speech. Now, tonight, they'll probably get a better speech because it's going to be President Obama and President Clinton. So I assume they'll give better speeches. I hope they don't put him at midnight like they did with Biden, but you never know. There's a lot of stuff going on outside of the convention. How significant it is. They're making a lot of noise, but they're not penetrating the convention center, which is, of course, what would change everything. But it was interesting last night when President Biden said that the people outside have a point. No, they don't have a point. They're defending what happened on October 7th, and nobody has a point to defend what happened on October 7th. They're defending people who are committing horrific crimes. So don't tell me that these people have a point. There's no equivalency here. But yet he went out and said that anyway, which I was surprised because, as I understand, he went off script to say that. He didn't. That was not on the speech, on the teleprompter, as they say. So I think, look, overall, I thought it was a sad way from a human point of view. It was a sad way for Joe Biden to finish his career. He's now going to go back to the White House, and for the next 5 or 6 months, well, he will be the president, and then he'll leave town. And I just don't think he'll be remembered that much by the party or the American people, because I just don't think he was a consequential president. And I think in many ways he was a very bad president. And I just think that, it's a sad way to go. And then to have your party do that to you, basically dump you like that without any consideration for the fact that you had earned thousands of delegates who were there. That's another ironic thing. The delegates are cheering for the guy they voted for. And then the woman that nobody voted for is going to get the nomination on Thursday night. I don't know. It's a little bit strange to me, but that's that's what's happening this year at that convention. So thank you for listening. I hope everybody has a good day. We'll come back on Wednesday. We're going to talk to Bill Katz, the editor of Urgent Agenda. So we'll have that on the podcast as well. And I'll give you my thoughts about Tuesday night tomorrow as well. Thank you for watching. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody.